Good afternoon, Littleton. Today is July 17th, 2025, and this is 01460 On the Go, the podcast for Littletonians by Littletonians. And with us today, we're so fortunate, is Kathy Miller, our Chief Assessor at Town Hall.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're glad you could be here. And as always, Jim Duggan, our Town Administrator, is by my side to ask the smarter questions than mine.
I don't know about that, Madam Chair.
So I thought we would talk a little bit. This podcast, as you know, we introduce different topics. We talk about different things that are happening in town. And I think one thing that folks really talk about a lot is taxes. And so I thought maybe we could spend a little bit of time introducing taxes in Littleton and how that sort of works. I know right now your office is working hard on a summer project in cyclical inspections, for example. And that's something that folks, about 10% of our community right now is looking at?
So right now we're in the final year of our cyclical inspections.
Okay.
It's a certification year in Littleton. And once every 5 years, the state reviews my data. And it's a more strict review of the data. And it's a data quality study with ratio studies, and they go over my values. And one of the criteria is that every house in town has to be reviewed at least once every 10 years.
Once every 10 years. So that's why folks might be getting a knock on the door.
So that is why folks are getting the knock on the door. And to address that, I have 2 field listers out in the field. And I know that it's uncomfortable for some people to be answering the door when people are cold calling and knocking on the door. I want everybody to know we're aware of how, you know what I mean, that can be. But we have it on various sites. We have a web page, and it has pictures of everyone in the office so that they can match it up. If they want to go on their computer, go on the Town of Littleton and the Assessor's web page, we're all there to verify that this person is legit.
And they wear badges and identification also?
We do.
Okay, great.
We have
Good.
identification. And all we're doing is trying to make sure that every house is inspected per, like I said, our directives for the DOR. But the other thing is it ensures that all the information we have on the property record card is up to date.
Yeah.
If we can't get in, it's hard to get in and make sure that everybody has uniform assessments. It's so important that all the data is uniform across all the markets. And sometimes we have sales, and we can go in for sales, or people take out a permit, and I'm going in for additions. But without cold calling for all the houses that haven't sold in recent years or passed down to generations, we don't know if, the data we have. And the things we're looking for are things like construction, the condition of the home, whether there's finished basement, finished attics, anything from hardwood, what the ratio of hardwood to carpet is, central AC, and all these things, all these components go into your assessment to make sure it's fair and equitable compared to everybody in town so that everybody's paying their correct portion of the pie for what they should be paying.
And you mentioned the pie, and let's talk a little bit about that because Littleton is unique among our neighbors, I think, in that we have a tiered tax rate. We have 2 different tax rates for Littleton, right? And can you talk a little bit about that?
So Littleton has a split tax rate, which some of our surrounding towns, Westford and Groton and Boxborough, do not. You usually have to have approximately, I think it's 20% commercial industrial to even go that route. It's voted in by the town. I don't know how long we've had it for, but it's wonderful. It takes a portion of the burden from the residential to the commercial industrial, and it helps to keep those residential tax bills a little lower.
Yep. So we have a tax rate for residential and a tax rate for commercial industrial.
That's correct.
Go ahead.
Do you mind if we, let's just step back for a second. So just to make sure everyone understands that when the field people, when they go in, they're not looking at code violations or anything like that. It's just maybe some potential structural or changes or anything like that would happen, that would have occurred inside the house. To your point, what I think is a perfect one, now you've got a finished basement. So, and whether then that has the potential of being used as another bedroom also or anything like that. So it would make some adjustments that way. And
Absolutely. And I'm not looking for code violations, and this has nothing, what you're using it for, the assessors tax and assess as is. I don't get too involved in what the rules and regulations are in the building department, what's allowed and not allowed. We don't share our information. I'm just going there to see what you have.
Great.
That's correct.
Great, thank you.
That's a great clarification. Thanks for that. So in Littleton, we have, for our residential tax rate, I think that's what most of the folks who are listening are going to want to know more about. So I think we'll focus mostly on the residential rate for a minute here. I was surprised, actually, when I was looking at the history of our residential tax rate, that the tax rate has actually gone down in Littleton, especially over the last 10 years. For example, it looks to me, by my lawyer's math, that we're down almost 18% since 2015 in our tax rate. Is that unique among our neighbors, or is that reflective of market conditions, or?
So I haven't really had a chance to look at what the other towns are, but Littleton's been fortunate that we've had a lot of building in the past 10 years. Since I've been here, we've had Durkee, we've had Kay, we've had Monarch, Wellington. Those are to name a few, Dean Lane and Vint Lane. And so we've had a lot of new construction. We were lucky to have a lot of land that we were able to utilize and create housing. And with that, it creates more of the, one of the things I always say when people come to the office is that the ratio, it's the total assessments of the town to what the town's burdens are and what they have to pay, and that helps create the tax rate. So my portion is just the assessment portion. I'm just making sure that all your assessments are fair and equitable. I don't get involved in, the town meeting creates what the budget is for the town. But we've been very fortunate to have so much increase in residential compared to other towns like Groton and Westford. And I think Westford's had quite a bit, but, we are fortunate compared to our neighbors that we've had a lot of housing over the past 10 years.
So it's more people to spread that pie,
Yeah.
right?
The pie gets bigger.
Between, yeah.
That's correct.
In terms of the pie, can we talk a little bit about 550 King Street and what we expect, how we expect that to impact the pie, so to speak? So 550 King is a mix of commercial and residential, but
That's correct.
one of the things that the select board is talking about is the increase in commercial revenue and how that might be, and how that will be an opportunity for us to offset the burden on from residents and shift that burden over to commercial, because we'll have more commercial business to be able to spread it about.
So I'll have to look into that more deeply, and I got to be honest, it's a certification year for the town, so I haven't spent as much time as I would have liked to on the 550 King dynamic. And I know that there's a lot of residential, what is it, 600 units or so?
There's a total between 410 and 550 of about 1,000.
Okay.
Okay, of a mixture with different size bedrooms. And there's 286 at 410 Great Road, and the balance of, I think it's 804 or something like that over at 550 King Street.
Okay. So I think that's one of the things that we'll have to look at is, how much more the residential is increasing and how much that commercial. I know that there's going to be markets, and I know that there's, they're looking to have the current IBM buildings that have been vacant, getting those filled up, and those will bring those back on the tax roll.
Right.
But I really want to get a chance to look at that more deeply to see how I think that's going to pan out in the end. But, hopefully there's going to be more commercial industrial, so we'll still be able to keep that shift. Because if residential rises more than the commercial industrial, then it creates there's not much room to shift. So we'll have to see.
Okay. Okay. I mean, revenue-wise, there's the anticipated, the back of the conservative revenue estimates that we talked about at the select board meeting the other night. You look at approximately just for the residential component is about approximately $3.5 million. This is being conservative, and this is data that is a couple years old. But to Kathy's point, and the continued reuse of IBM would probably bring about with the increased value would increase by and provide $1 million. And we're also looking at potential office space in there and retail and commercial that together would also bring about $500,000. So you're looking at about a $5 million annual revenue that would come into the town. Yeah.
Yep. And we understand that there's also costs that are involved with growth, right? And that's
Exactly.
part of the planning process for sure, is to make sure that
Right.
the growth and the increase in revenue is more than what we're spending, right? Steve Venuti's been very, very vocal on that point for sure. And we're right there with him on that. So we've talked about tax bills and a little bit about tax revenue. Can we talk a little bit about what's available for residents who are having trouble meeting their tax, being able to afford their tax bill?
So we have several programs that are in town, ranging from our exemptions, which are taken care of in my office, and we have 6 main ones. We have the surviving spouse, senior, blind, veterans. All of those have certain criteria, whether income, age, residency, and you can stop by the assessor's office at any time, and we can go into depth on these exemptions to see what you qualify for. And these exemptions range anywhere from $350 to total exemption of your real estate taxes, depending on which program you're eligible for. We have the work-off program that's for 100 households, and they can earn up to $1,500 off their taxes for doing things around town, whether it's helping out in certain offices, working for the schools, painting, maintenance of the yards. There's various, and I know Liz in COA has more information on what jobs are available.
And that's the senior tax work-off program
That's
that we.
the senior and veteran, yes. And I encourage everybody, it's a great program to.
So that's up to $1,500
That's correct, per household.
per household. So so that's for senior and veterans. What if you're a senior veteran? Do you get 3,000, do you know?
So that's correct. Yes,
Okay.
they're individual programs. So and we do have, I think, 2 residents right now who are getting both the veterans senior work off and the.
Great.
We have TRED, and I can't speak too much on TRED because I know they have their individual criteria, and I'm not sure what their criteria is.
Right.
But they have a committee, and you fill out an application, and they can also give you some relief from taxes.
And that's a Elder and Human Services run program. So
Great.
that's who
Yeah.
you would reach out to if you had questions about TRED.
That's correct.
Tax relief for the elderly and disabled, I believe, is what that
Yeah.
stands
I believe
for.
so, yes.
Yeah. And then the one that a lot of people have probably been hearing a lot about in the past couple of weeks, because I know it's a hot topic in my office and around town hall, is the tax deferral program. So a tax deferral program is 65 and older, and you can defer all or a portion of your taxes. You can do it 1 year, and you don't ever have to apply for it again if there's a certain project. And I always tell our seniors that it could be like just your roof needs to be repairing, and you only need to do it 1 year. Just do it the 1 year. You don't ever have to go into the program again. And so I said it could be all of your taxes, whether you have say your tax bill $6,000, you could defer the $6,000. You could do $3,000. You could do $1,500. It can be a portion or all of them. And we're lucky here that we voted in at town meeting a 1% interest when it's payable. And it's a lot of communities, it's 8%. And that's what the MGL guidelines are, but they give you a local option to go underneath that 8%. And we voted in the 1%, which I researched surrounding communities. I don't know any other community but us that are doing the 1%.
That's great.
So can you explain a little bit with that deferral? So somebody elects to defer their taxes for their next bill. When does that 1% interest start accruing, and when are they required to start paying it?
So it's payable upon death or upon sale of the home.
Okay.
And that's when the 1%, and the tax collector will calculate that payment out. There is a lien put on the property because to be payable back to the town, you have to have a lien registered. But other than that, I think it's an underutilized program, and right now we're trying to get the income, because there is income requirements to the program, and we're trying to get those increased so more people are eligible for the program. We did a circuit breaker vote. This was, I can't remember, 2016 maybe, and we voted it to the current. We're trying to get now to get the current circuit breaker, but maybe have language in the vote that says up to the circuit in coming year. So it's always the circuit breaker. We're matching the circuit breaker allowable amount.
Oh, so that it'll automatically.
increase every year with the circuit breaker, so you don't have to go every town meeting to take the same vote. And I personally think that's a great idea. I think we only have 3 people, unfortunately, that are in the deferral program right now.
That's amazing.
And so I think that's the goal, is to get more people. You know, I'd love to see more than 3 people eligible for this program and utilizing it.
How many, do you have any thoughts of how many people have actually looked into it that have asked the questions and potentially, because there is a specific criteria that you have to become eligible for?
There is.
Yeah, so I'm just curious if we've probably talked to, over the course of a year, maybe 10, 5, 2, I don't know.
Yeah, we get a lot of inquiries
Okay.
on the program. We do, and I think some seniors don't meet because our income isn't. Like I said, I'd like to see that increased. It's
Sure.
not where it should be. So that's one aspect.
Okay.
I know some people get concerned about the lien on their property,
Yep.
and that could be a deterrent to some people.
Right.
But the one thing I always say is it doesn't have to be all your taxes every year. This is something that if you can afford half your taxes, you can just do half that tax amount, you know, for however many years you need it. And
Is there a limit to how many years?
no,
Okay.
no, you can do it for as long as you want,
Okay.
as long as you meet the criteria
Every year?
every year.
And that's starting at age 65?
That's 65 and over, yes.
That's amazing. So
Yeah, it is.
it's basically a 1% interest rate, and you don't have to pay your taxes, or you get to choose how much of your tax bill you can afford
Correct.
year after year.
Year after year. Yeah. Like I said, I would love that. I would love to see that program utilized more.
And
I
it-
think it's an excellent program, and I think the 1% is fantastic. As I said, we're the only community that I know of that does the 1%.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that the interest rate was so low. That's amazing.
It is amazing.
So in terms of additional ways to cut back on someone's tax bill, we've talked about the tax deferral, and we've talked about the tax exemption.
And one of the things I also want to point out is that a lot of these can be done together. They're not individual of each other.
So they
You
stack.
can apply for a senior exemption, a deferral, as well as TRED, as well as the work-off program. I have several applicants that do numerous ones. They're in each program trying to get the max benefit that they can to stay in their home. And so when people come to the counter in the assessor's office and we're trying to help them walk through them, we look at their total eligibility, like what of the programs, if, multiple you can apply for, and where are they getting the biggest, you know what I mean, advantage. And so we'll point them based on their criteria to several of these programs. So I don't want anybody to think that it's just one of these programs. You can apply for many of them.
And so if someone's interested, is it just on a walk-in basis? They can come to your office?
They can walk into our office and we'll go over every single one of these options with them.
And let's talk about town hall hours real quick.
Town hall hours, my office is open 8 to 6 on Mondays and 8 to 4:30 Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8 to 12:30 on Friday. And we are a 3-member office, and there's always somebody there that can walk you through these.
That's fantastic.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do a great job. They're very valuable, great team.
And really invested in helping everyone who walks in the door.
Absolutely.
I know that for sure, yeah.
Absolutely.
So thanks so much for coming today. Thanks for explaining all these concepts to us, and thanks mostly, for helping us get the word out about what resources are available to everyone here in town.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And that's
you.
all for today, folks. Thanks very much. We'll see you in 2 weeks.